The train screeched to a halt at the small, nearly deserted station, sending clouds of steam into the frigid Christmas Eve air. Snow had been falling all day, thick and soft, blanketing the town in a peaceful, silent white. James Carter pulled his coat tighter around his shoulders, glancing down at his daughter Lily, who was bouncing on her heels in excitement. 8 years old, with curls the color of chestnuts and a face full of anticipation, she had been talking about this day for weeks. She barely noticed the cold as she tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, she's coming. Do you think she'll like it here?" Lily asked, her eyes wide. James forced a smile, though a knot of anxiety tightened in his chest. A mail-order bride arriving was one thing, but seeing a stranger, someone he had only exchanged letters with, walk into his home with his daughter waiting, it was another. The truth was, he didn't know what to expect. A figure emerged from the snow, moving carefully across the platform. At first, James thought she might be a child herself, frail and hunched against the wind. Her coat was patched in several places, worn and thin, and her boots were caked with slush. Her hair, dark and tangled, was dusted with snowflakes, and her suitcase looked like it had been through a storm, not just the weather, but life itself. Lily gasped. "Daddy, look." The woman looked up, and James caught the first glimpse of her face. Pale and tired, yes, but her eyes, sharp, clear, and oddly unafraid, met his with a quiet intensity. She carried herself with a dignity that belied her tattered clothing, a kind of inner strength that was impossible to ignore. James stepped forward instinctively. "Are you—" He stopped, suddenly aware of how inadequate words felt. She nodded, brushing snow from her coat. "Yes, I'm here," she said softly, her voice trembling only slightly. Lily ran forward and threw her arms around the woman's waist. "Hi, I'm Lily. You're finally here." The woman knelt down, hugging her back with gentle care. "Hello, Lily, it's nice to meet you." Her smile was small, but it was genuine, and in that moment, James felt the first flicker of hope. "Come on," he said, extending his hand. "Let's get you inside before you freeze." The walk home was short but felt long. Snow crunched beneath their boots, and the cold bit at their cheeks. But inside James's chest, warmth began to spread. He noticed the careful way she adjusted her steps, the way her eyes lingered on small details, the decorated lampposts, the frosted windows, the way Lily chattered nonstop. Despite her ragged clothes, she moved with an elegance that suggested patience and intelligence. By the time they reached the small, modest house, James had made a quiet decision in his mind. She was more than her appearance. She had courage. She had resilience. And perhaps, just perhaps, she could bring something to their little family that neither he nor Lily even knew they were missing. Inside the warm house, the scent of pine and the faint aroma of cocoa greeted the mail order bride as she stepped carefully over the threshold. Lily ran ahead, her laughter echoing off the wooden walls, and James followed slowly, carrying the small suitcase that had somehow survived the harsh journey. The warmth was almost suffocating after the biting cold outside, but the woman seemed to melt into it, her posture relaxing ever so slightly. "This is our home," James said, his voice a little uncertain. "It's small, but we make do." She looked around with wide eyes, noticing the handmade decorations hanging from the mantel and the little wreath on the door. "It's very cozy," she said softly, a hint of a smile touching her lips. Her voice carried a gentle melody that immediately put Lily at ease. Lily grabbed her hand and tugged her toward the living room. "Come on, we need to decorate the tree. I saved the best ornaments for you." The woman knelt down, her tattered coat sliding off her shoulders. "I don't know if I can help much," she admitted, but her eyes sparkled with a quiet enthusiasm. She let Lily chatter as she arranged the ornaments with surprising care, gently fixing crooked bows and guiding delicate glass balls into place. Every movement seemed thoughtful, precise, and patient, revealing an attention to detail James had not anticipated. James watched them from the doorway, sipping his coffee, a mixture of admiration and unease stirring in his chest. This was not the fragile, unsure woman he had half feared would arrive. She laughed softly at Lily's wild ideas for tree placement, corrected mistakes without condescension, and even improvised little touches that made the tree look magically festive despite their humble means. Dinner arrived simple but hearty: roasted chicken, mashed potatoes, and vegetables from the last of James's winter garden. The woman helped set the table, arranging plates and silverware with care, speaking softly to Lily about the food, asking gentle questions that made her feel included. James noticed how she made his daughter's small quirks feel natural, rather than awkward. Conversation flowed slowly at first. She spoke hesitantly about her journey, the long train ride, and the towns she had passed through, but each word revealed her intelligence and careful thought. She noticed small details, complimented Lily's cleverness, and even offered practical advice about the home, showing resourcefulness that James found quietly impressive. By the end of the evening, the first snow of the night had dusted the roof, glittering in the light of the street lamps. Lily had curled up with a new storybook the woman had read aloud, her eyelids heavy with sleep. James found himself standing in the kitchen, looking at the woman as she quietly cleaned the dishes, her movements efficient but unhurried, her presence calm and grounding. Christmas morning broke under a thick blanket of snow. The storm that had begun the night before raged on, whipping the town with wind and powdery flakes. James had promised Lily a sledding adventure, imagining the little girl zooming down the hill in laughter and rosy-cheeked delight. But by mid-morning it became clear the roads were impassable. The snowdrifts were taller than Lily in some spots, and the cold was merciless. He frowned, worry knotting his chest. "Looks like we'll have to wait," he said reluctantly, brushing snow from his coat. Lily's shoulders slumped, disappointment written across her face. He glanced at the woman standing quietly in the doorway, her coat dusted with fresh snow, and wondered what she would do. She stepped forward with surprising decisiveness. "We don't need to go outside to have fun," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "Come on, Lily, let's make our own adventure right here." Within minutes, the living room was transformed. She had gathered blankets, pillows, and old cardboard boxes, creating a makeshift fort that Lily insisted was a castle. She found scraps of paper and colored pencils and encouraged Lily to craft ornaments for their indoor tree. Even James found himself swept up in the excitement, watching the two of them work together, laughter filling the house as the storm howled outside. When the power flickered and the lights dimmed, James's heart skipped. The fireplace sputtered, leaving the room in half-light. Panic threatened to rise, but the woman's calm voice immediately quelled it. "We can handle this," she said. She moved with quiet efficiency, gathering extra blankets, lighting lanterns, and showing Lily how to make shadows dance on the walls with candlelight. Her composure was remarkable, and James felt a strange warmth, watching her adapt effortlessly to a situation that would have flustered him. Hours passed and the snowstorm raged, yet inside the house a sense of serenity grew. Lily built towers from blankets and boxes under the careful supervision of the woman, who offered encouragement without taking over. She told stories, made up games, and even baked simple treats from the ingredients in the pantry. The house smelled of warm bread and cinnamon, a stark contrast to the frozen world outside. At one point, James caught himself staring at her. She had arrived in rags, exhausted and travel-worn, yet here she was, unshaken, creative, patient, and resilient. He realized with sudden clarity that her worth was not something measured by appearances or material possessions. She had a strength that ran deeper, a quiet fortitude that inspired him and comforted Lily in equal measure. That night the house had finally quieted. Lily was fast asleep, curled up under her blanket with her favorite stuffed rabbit, breathing softly in the warmth of her room. James sat by the fire, sipping the last of his now cold coffee, and glanced across the room at the woman. She had settled into a chair, pulling a blanket around her shoulders, her eyes reflecting the flickering flames. For the first time she seemed fully at ease, her shoulders no longer tense from the long journey or the day's challenges. They sat in silence for a while, letting the quiet fill the spaces between them. James had something on his mind, a heaviness he had been carrying since she arrived. Slowly, carefully, he found the courage to speak. "I want to know more about you," he said softly, breaking the silence. Her eyes met his, and for a moment, she seemed to hesitate, as if unsure whether to reveal the layers of her life she had kept hidden. Then she spoke, her voice low but steady. "It hasn't been easy," she admitted. "I've traveled far, endured things I'd rather not think about, just hoping to find a place where I could belong, somewhere I could feel safe." Her hands clutched the blanket tighter. "I wasn't sure if anyone would accept me as I am." James felt a pang in his chest. He had known she had endured hardship, but hearing it in her own words made it real, visceral. He leaned forward, his voice gentle. I don't care about your past or where you've come from. I care about who you are here, right now. I see strength and kindness and something I can't quite put into words. I see someone who could be a part of this family. Someone Lily could love and someone I could care about. A faint smile touched her lips, tentative but genuine. She looked down at the flames dancing in the hearth, then back at him, and for the first time, there was no trace of fear or uncertainty in her eyes. I never thought I'd find someone who would see me for who I truly am, she whispered. James moved closer, his heart pounding in his chest. I see you. All of you. Not just the clothes, not just the journey. Not just the letters we wrote, you and I want you to feel that you belong here with us. She swallowed hard, a single tear sliding down her cheek, and reached out her hand. He took it, holding it gently, and in that simple touch a bond formed, quiet, unspoken and powerful. The warmth of the fire mirrored the warmth growing in their hearts, filling the small living room with a sense of trust and hope. Hours passed in gentle conversation, sharing fears, dreams, and small secrets that had been carried alone for too long. The connection between them deepened, not through grand gestures, but through vulnerability, honesty, and the courage to be seen. Christmas morning arrived with a stillness that seemed almost magical. The snow outside glistened under the soft light of the rising sun, painting the town in sparkling white. Inside the little house, warmth radiated from the fireplace, mingling with the scent of freshly baked bread and cinnamon. From the small breakfast the woman had prepared, Lily woke first, her curls messy from sleep, and rushed to the living room, squealing with delight at the decorations, the small gifts, and the cozy fort they had left intact from the day before. The woman knelt beside her, helping unwrap presents with gentle patience. Every small gift seemed special. Every smile shared with Lily radiated genuine care. James watched them from the doorway, feeling a lump in his throat. He had never seen his daughter so fully at ease with someone new, so completely happy. The sight stirred something deep within him, a mix of relief, gratitude, and a growing realization of what she had already brought into their lives. Lily hugged the woman tightly after opening a handmade ornament, and whispered, I'm so glad you're here. The woman's eyes softened, glistening with unshed tears, and she hugged Lily back. I'm glad too, she said softly, almost to herself. James cleared his throat, stepping closer. The warmth from the fire reflected off his worried yet determined face. I need to say something, he began, his voice steady but layered with emotion. The woman looked up, sensing the seriousness beneath his words. I've been thinking a lot these past few days about what it means to have someone in our lives, and I've realized that I've been blind to what really matters. He paused, searching her eyes. I see your worth. I see your strength, your kindness, your courage, and I want you to stay, not just for Christmas but for all the days after, with me, with Lily. Her eyes widened in surprise, then softened into a tender smile. She bit her lip, overwhelmed but joyous. I never imagined I would hear that, she whispered. I've traveled so far carrying hope that I might find a place to belong, a family, and now it feels like I have. Lily clapped her hands excitedly, her voice bright. You're going to stay, really? The woman nodded, and Lily threw herself into her arms once more. The house echoed with laughter and hugs, the kind that only come from the heart. James stepped closer, taking her hand gently. We'll figure it out together, he said. Every step, every day. You're part of our family now. She squeezed his hand, her eyes meeting his with unspoken understanding and trust. In that moment, the room glowed not just with the firelight, but with the warmth of acceptance, love, and the promise of a future together. The end.